Thank you for listening to the Pull It Back podcast. Now here are your hosts, Mike and Andy.
And welcome to the Pull It Back podcast. I am your host, Mike, with my co-host, Andy.
What is up?
And I wanted to start this episode off with this new thing that AT&T is pushing out. It's the 5G E network. So basically, it's just a rebranded LTE. I mean, it's what they're doing the exact same thing that they did before with the 4G network. When they just had it was like a 3G network just kind of turned up to one notch. And then they rebranded it as 4G when it really wasn't. It was just an upgraded version of 3G. Well, now they're doing the exact same thing with 5G. And Sprint is actually, like I said, suing them about this. So, like I said, I was doing some research because I'm on the beta version of the iPhone iOS 12.2. And it shows on my phone 5G E. I was like, oh, cool, I get the new 5G network. Maybe I'll get better signal in places that I don't, and maybe I'll get faster speeds because AT&T is terrible. So I went and did some research because I was like, I don't see a difference. And like I said, that's when I found out about this. It's just rebranded LTE.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just confusing. It's misleading to customers. I mean, now Sprint apparently is suing AT&T because they basically screwed the 5GE rollout because now everybody thinks that 5GE, which is technically LTE, is the new network when it's not.
Right.
It's ridiculous. I mean, well, like I said, Sprint is suing because Sprint is actually trying to roll out a real 5G network, and these 5G speeds are supposed to be like anywhere between, what is it? I think over a gigabyte a second.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and this is like supposed to take on. So the whole point of this 5G thing, with being a mesh network and little boxes, and basically handling only like 30 to 40 devices per whatever, how many feet it is. It's going to allow for autonomous cars to work, and since data will be so fast and it'll all be wirelessly, they're thinking that they might be able to it'll be an Internet of Things. You know how they talk about that?
Yeah.
Like your whole house is connected. Like the refrigerator tells my TV when it's time to order milk or whatever.
Yeah, everything's interconnected now.
Yeah, they're going to say like this wireless network is supposed to be almost like everywhere Wi-Fi.
That's kind of weird. There's a lot of conspiracy theories going around about this. There's actually some evidence to show that it can actually scramble your brain and stuff.
Yeah, because the what is it, the hertz or whatever that they have it at, it's like a millihertz or something like that, and they said that it causes so much radiation that they're expecting it to start causing cancer. The stuff we have now already causes cancer, but they're saying that this is going to basically amplify that.
Well, from what I just heard from my buddy who is a big electronics guy, he knows quite a bit about it. He was telling me that phones are half a watt, which they say that anything below a half a watt doesn't cause cancer.
Yeah.
So,
doesn't cause cancer?
Does not cause cancer.
Okay.
So, whatever watts, I think it was the watts that they were talking about in that one article you referred to a couple weeks back.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were talking about the watts were a problem because it was something ridiculous. Like, I think 4G was at something like 1.2 watts, and this is at like 5
so
or
it's
4.
So it's just insanely high. Well, I mean, you're also getting a lot more data. So it all comes at a cost.
True. But the thing they're worried about, too, is that it's a CIA thing. Like a plot.
CIA? What do you mean?
Like the CIA.
Oh, it's like the government's trying to kill everybody?
Yeah.
They're trying to give everybody cancer?
Yeah, it's one of those things. They're going to test it to see if they can cull some of the herd, maybe do some monitoring, see what porn you're looking at.
Well, that was basically the whole point of this, me bringing that 5G thing up, is because I'm on a beta version of the iOS is 12.2, and I saw that because I've had issues with my network with AT&T for a while here at least, and so when I updated and I saw that 5GE, I was like, oh shit, I got 5G now. I was like, maybe I'll actually have decent signal, and that's not the case. It's just the same exact thing. They just changed the letters from LTE to 5GE. That's it. That's all. That's the only difference. So I hope Sprint wins that lawsuit.
So Sprint, remind me again, because we went through a bunch of stuff.
Well, because Sprint is actually rolling out a real 5G network, 5G mesh network in select markets. So they're like branding it as 5G.
Right. So they're suing the other carriers?
Yeah, they're suing AT&T because AT&T jumped on it. It was like, we call it 5GE.
Oh, so they're basically trying to jump all over the patent for the name.
Yeah, because it's like, well, basically what they're doing is that AT&T is misleading. Well, they're misleading their customers and they're confusing people because they think they have 5G, but they still are on the exact same network. They just rebranded it, and Sprint is like, well, we're trying to roll out a real 5G, and you're screwing with us because we have a real 5G, and you guys are just posers.
So they're trying to keep their customers from going over to Sprint to get on board with the real 5G network.
Yes, and they're like, well, but you're
Sprint
basically...
is. But then again, Sprint is advocating cancer and, mind control, like Alex Jones type shit.
Well, I mean, wear an aluminum hat. That's all. Just real quick before we move on to the next story. I know you had a good story coming up, but you know that Bud Light commercial where they're like, "Oh, we accidentally got your corn syrup or whatever."
Oh, yeah.
He's like, we don't brew with corn syrup. And he's like, so they go across the land trying to find whose corn syrup it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because the last week's episode, we were talking about that weed killer in it.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be funny if they pulled up and like, is this your corn syrup? Like, I mean, yeah, we use corn syrup, but I think we got us mixed up, and here's your weed killer. So we don't brew ours with weed killer. We only brew it with corn syrup.
Drop the bass.
So Miller, I know you brew with corn syrup. I know Miller was one of the... I mean, well, I guess none of them really could because all of them had that freaking Roundup in it.
Yeah.
However, speaking of hops and barley, you had a story about, what was it, yeast?
Oh, yeah. This is a pretty interesting one that I came across. We've talked about marijuana and CBD and the benefits of before. Mm-hmm. Apparently, there's a new process that's trying to outdo actual growing of the plant. So these scientists have come up with a way to produce CBD and THC in a very pure form with yeast.
Yeast, like the stuff you can buy to make bread?
Yeah, like brewers' yeast. Stuff they make beer with, make alcohol. Yeah, so apparently they insert the cannabis genes into like a brewer's yeast,
like pants, or like jeans, like GE,
like yeah, the tiny little denim jeans that you wear.
Yeah.
No, they're inserting their genes into this yeast, and on the other side of it, it's putting out THC and CBD, and it's much more viable and it's quicker, and apparently the strains are pretty potent if you mix it with the correct genes.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty damn cool thing because, they could make actual pure CBD without even the potential to have traces of THC in it.
Yeah.
So that's really good for states that are on the fence about CBD and maybe still have it illegal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a far more attractive thing, I think. And I think it would actually be a huge benefit to those of them out there that maybe want to start a dispensary in the near future if it becomes decriminalized and legalized and all that shit.
For sure.
So I think with that it could promote business because you don't have to have a huge farm. You don't have to be growing all this shit all the time. Mm. You can just figure out how to genetically. That's a problem though.
It's how you can GMO?
Yeah. How you can modify this yeast to spit out THC and CBD. which is, a much smaller operation than you would have to have for growing, obviously. But who knows what the modified. Supposedly, there's no difference. The yeast takes on this form, and produces the pure form of what the plant would make.
Well, I remember you brought that up, and then so I was like, well, I need to see this. So basically, I guess, so like if you were to eat pot raw, like if you pulled it off the plant and you just ate it, you wouldn't get high.
No, I read that
it
too, and I was pretty interested. Like, well, what about what about
you have to
edibles?
apply heat.
Right, exactly. It's called decarboxylation.
Yeah.
And that process turns it from THCA, which is the gene they insert is a mother cannabinoid.
Yeah.
And it's called CDBA.
Yeah,
CBDA.
Yeah.
CBDA. Yeah. And that's what produces the THC and the CBD cannabinoid.
Mm-hmm.
So
when they apply heat to it, it takes that
yes.
A off of it, so it turns into pure THC and CBD, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Because I didn't know that. I was like, I thought if you just ate it, but I thought whenever people made brownies, they were just sprinkling it on top of the brownies, like, here you go, bro.
Yeah. See, I mean, just to show you how much we know. I'm sorry, it was CBGA.
Oh, CBGA. I thought it was CBDA too.
It's described as the central cannabinoid that carries the other ones. That's kind of where they branch off to become THC and CBD.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool freaking process right there that they discovered. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What were you saying?
No, I was just saying about the how you have to cook it, because I was thinking that you just people with edibles, they made the brownies and then sprinkled weed on top.
That's what I thought too, honestly.
Yeah, I was like, oh, you just bake it.
I thought they were just
but
sprinkling it.
I get it now. They actually put it into the batter and then cook it, and THC is released into, which is like a higher concentration of it too.
It's a much more potent form in edible form.
Yeah.
Like when you, because I actually watched a video the other day on how to make vape juice with VG and PG, vegetable glycerin and propylene glycol, as the flavor carrier and I guess whatever makes the smoke.
Whatever makes the puff puff.
The puff puff. And then she was mixing it with a really strained down THC. She mixed the pot, the regular dry pot, with the VG-PG mix, blended it up, and sat it in a double boiler, or in a mason jar inside of a pot of boiling water for 3.5 hours.
Oh my God. Low and slow.
And then she strains it all, and she gets this. She get a total of 30 milliliters from 7 grams of weed. She said.
Oh my God.
So basically a normal sized vape juice bottle. The middle size between
the 30 mil.
Yeah,
30
a
milliliter.
15 mil, 30 milliliter, and then you got the giant 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got 3 little mini ones.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so she said 30 milliliters in total, but she said it was 30 to 50% or 50 milligrams of THC,
which could kill an elephant.
Which would put you in the next generation in another universe. You would be your own grandfather in that situation.
Oh my God.
That's how baked you would be.
No kidding.
But yeah, when I heard that she was it was 30 or 50%, I was like, holy shit. That's ridiculous.
That's a lot of happy juice.
Yeah, that's the ones that make you take your pants off and run around naked and they tackle you.
Yeah.
God bless. But I thought that was a pretty cool little process there.
Yeah, so basically they're making people get high off of yeast. So even if they ban marijuana, we still got yeast.
Heyo. It's just a matter of time before marijuana is completely legal.
I know. It's just people are just in the way. So, I came across this other article. This is before we get to the big one. But I saw this article. Well, it was a person in Argentine. Is that how you pronounce it? Argentine?
The Argentines?
Argentina?
It's got to be Argentina.
Yeah, they must have misspelled it then. But the title of it says, "I want this thing the old man put inside me taken out."
All right.
Yeah. So an 11-year-old Argentinian girl who was denied an abortion received a cesarean section this week, sparking a new debate on the country's strict abortion laws. Because Argentina is absolutely no abortion.
Oh, wow.
So this is an 11-year-old child. She was raped by her grandmother's 65-year-old partner.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. She requested to have an abortion. I guess there was confusion over the girl's legal guardianship because it caused the delay until her 23rd week of pregnancy.
Oh, my God.
At which point, the doctors argued it was too risky to carry out the procedure. So basically, it was too late to get rid of it.
Oh, my God, dude.
So this is like one of those, for the people that are pro-abortion, this is like one of those extremes that you're just like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but, a lot of them will stick to their guns and be like, good, she should have had an 11-year-old child should be put through that.
And against a 65-year-old man.
Yeah, she has to live with that shame every day, knowing that baby's that man's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard for men to understand the bond between a woman and a child because they grow them and they endure the pain and all that jazz. I sound like a fucking feminist.
Mm-hmm.
But, I have a wife and a daughter, and I have to look out for them. It's my job to provide for them and provide safety and all that jazz so they can go out there and do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Not saying that they couldn't do it without me. I'm just saying I feel it's my responsibility to help them out.
Yeah.
And if it means that my daughter should have a choice on what she does with her body, then by God, I'm going to do what it takes.
No kidding.
That's insane.
Well, like I said, again, this is like one of the extremes, but I mean, it's kind of hard to think about because, I mean, you're thinking about it in your head. You're just like, oh, man, that's terrible. But, like, picture yourself in that actual situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is an 11-year-old girl, man. It's disgusting.
See, that's what disturbs me the most because my daughter's 10.
Yeah.
That hits close to home.
Yeah, man.
If something were to happen to her, some creep does something to her.
Man. I mean, well, first of all, the 65-year-old man would be dead. He would not make it to his 66th birthday.
That's definitely number one.
That is a given. But two, I mean, when it comes to that, man, I think you may have to abort it because so this is even the worst part about it. So the girl's mother had approved the abortion. So the girl's mother was like, "Yes, I want it to happen." But since the child lives with her grandmother, the mother's consent was deemed insufficient.
The grandmother?
She lived with her grandmother. And the grandmother's partner was the one that raped her.
And they needed the grandmother's permission?
Well, no. The mother gave permission.
Oh.
But the little girl lived with her grandmother. So the mother's approval didn't count. Like it was insufficient. So.
Oh, because she was living with grandma.
Yes. And so the grandmother's approval was also considered inadequate since her legal guardianship was terminated over the relations with the alleged rapist.
That is some bureaucratic bullshit.
Isn't it?
At its finest.
Because, I mean, you got to think, you have... So, basically, this dude, this fucking demon, goes and rapes this poor little 11-year-old girl, and then grandmother loses guardianship because of that creep. And then mother steps in and says, well, I do want it to have an abortion. And then they're like, well, you can't because technically the guardian is the grandmother because she's living with her. But then grandmother's like, well, I want to. It's like, well, you're not a guardian anymore because your relationship with the rapist. Isn't that insane?
This is ridiculous. It's like that story that was in, oh God. Well, I think it was in Argentina too.
Probably
We're going to have to look that up. Where a guy... It was either in Argentina or somewhere in like Eastern Europe, like one of those USSR countries.
Yeah.
But it was a guy that the local government decided he was dead.
Mm-hmm.
They assigned him or a death certificate and everything, in like a hospital. He got sick or some shit. The guy ended up bringing the death certificate to the local government and said, "I am not dead."
Oh yeah.
And the local government turned him away and said, "Nope, you're still dead. You didn't file the paperwork in time to say that you're alive."
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm literally standing right in front of you.
Yeah. There's nothing more I can do to prove to you that I'm alive.
I mean, you could shit in their mouths, but like,
You can't arrest me. I'm dead.
I'm dead.
There's nothing you can do. Can't
I'm
touch
just gonna
me.
go. I'm gonna go shit on all of your pillows.
Every morning when you come to work, guess what's in your coffee?
Shit.
Shit. That's it. So yeah, like I said, I mean, in Argentina, I hope they get that shit figured out, man, because that place is going downhill fast. That's why I'm proud of being American.
Yeah, that's it's not the U.S. has its faults,
Yeah,
but it's still the best in the world
yeah. I mean, like I said,
by a long shot.
with the story that I'll read to you later, it's going to prove that in a way.
Yeah.
Also, there was a big thing because I don't know if you guys know. I know there's been a lot of documentaries on Netflix and stuff like that about this, but the GMO food industry, of course, the big name that comes to mind is Monsanto. You know that Monsanto acquired Bayer.
Yeah, I did look at that. Bayer makes a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they make stuff for pets. They make stuff for people. They make
they make Advantage.
Yeah.
Flea and tick preventer.
They make the Seresto flea collar.
Yeah, but those are really good, so I'm not going to not buy those.
Yeah, I got one for my dog too. Offer your recommendation.
They are the best.
So if my dog starts getting sick, it's on you.
See, Seresto collars have a very, very, very rare chance of a reaction. Yeah. And Muggsy, my dog, he had like this weird little bumps all over him. We took him to the vet because I thought it was the collar. I took it off him, thought it was the collar. Even the vet was like, there's such a low chance of having a reaction. It's definitely something else. He said definitely something else. And he gave us a prescription. He took it, and they haven't come back. And he wore a Seresto collar all last year. This was the year before last.
Yeah.
So they work perfectly. And
well, to prove that point is that I actually did some research on it and this Seresto flea collar thing. And I'll get back to the Bayer story here in a second, but I wanted to say that I went and did the research for the Seresto collar, and when I looked it up, there is a bunch, a ton of counterfeits.
Yeah, that's how good they
are the ones that are getting dogs sick. And, I mean, the counterfeits look pretty damn legit until you really start to look for it. Like, there's a couple things, like the inside of the can on the lid, it's like a metallic paint. It's not, like, just painted on, like, flat or whatever.
It's actually the inside of the metal tin.
Yeah, it's, like, more opaque, you know? And then you have it comes with a sticker to remind you to, like, put on your calendar.
Yeah.
And it comes with a little reflector clip, so that's how you can tell. So, the best way to do it is I actually called Bayer and read them off the serial number, and they verified that it was real.
Wow.
So, I mean, because I didn't want to take the risk, man. But anyways.
Well, I guess a shout out to Chewy's. My buddy just got a job with them, and that's probably where I'll get my Seresto collars from. Is from Chewy. They seem like a great company.
I mean, I got mine off of Amazon, and I talked to the lady, and the lady said that Bayer ships directly to Amazon, so that's how she knew it was legit. But
interesting.
Anyway, the Monsanto thing, they acquired Bayer, which are the producers of aspirin and many other things. So they are now intertwined with the GMO food industry, which kind of seems strange to me because you think pharmaceuticals and GMO foods. It's like, it's like a perfect harmony almost.
It's like
the two most untrusted companies on the planet.
Big Pharma and the food industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The two
it's
worst.
Weird.
And now we have carrots growing out of our ears.
What a vicious, vicious thing. It's like, let's modify their food so they get sick, so they have to take our medicine, so they have to eat our shitty food.
Yeah, and then they have to be on special diets.
Yeah,
So
but that's modified too.
It's like, I can just picture them smoking cigars and stuff, just laughing, rubbing their bellies together and shit.
They have the cure for HIV.
Yeah. Well, actually, there is a cure. Like I said, I'll talk about that later. Again, this GMO food industry, they sell. I mean, I don't know if you know how it works with the GMO food industry, but they sell higher grade seeds to farmers with higher yields. So it's kind of similar how to do the chicken industry and how Tyson does the farmers. So basically, they do like contract farming to where the company provides the chicks and, in Monsanto's case, the seeds and whatnot. And depending on how much yield the farmer has out of his crop is how many like grade A seeds that he gets next year, or if you didn't have a very good yield, didn't make enough money, they give you B seeds. So it's like you have a really hard time climbing out of a hole if you fall behind. And they do the same thing with the chicken industry. So it's just like, why would anybody want to go with organic and grow truly organic food? Because your yield is almost 20% lower if you use non-organic pesticides and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it makes you think, because I know that whole organic thing has been blown out of the water, where it's just like, it's not really organic food. They just use specific organic
to say,
pesticides.
And the FDA is about as crooked as a question mark. So
yeah,
they're the ones that make all the regulations and on this shit, so they can get fines and I'm pretty sure that's how they're funded, is through fines.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. The
Or
FDA.
it's got to be one of them. But and then they go and
it's
dump.
also extremely underfunded.
That's ridiculous. And then they go and turn around and dump gallons and gallons and gallons into the Colorado River, turning it yellow.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, but yet these fuckers are like, vaping's bad.
Yeah, like, don't smoke pot. So, anyways, I don't know if you know this, but again, like I said, with Monsanto, they basically own the entire GMO food industry.
Wow.
And now they own Bayer, which they own a huge portion of the pharmaceutical market. So that's always great news. And then they have, with the chicken industry, there's only 3 companies that make up 95% of all chicken that you buy.
Seriously?
Yeah, there's 3 companies that basically they own. They can be branded any way it looks. It'll be a local brand, whatever. 95% of the chicken that you eat and see is owned by 3 different companies: Sanderson Farms, Tyson Chicken, and Pilgrim's Pride. And I guarantee you, you have seen one or the other or all 3 at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if you go because I go shop at H-E-B, and they have this it's local Texas farms and blah blah blah. It's owned by Sanderson Farms. They just label it differently. So
that's where they're getting their actual eggs from?
They get the eggs, they get the chicken, all from Sanderson Farms.
So good God. So they're basically those 3 are just distributors.
Yeah.
And they also own like farms for chicken and stuff like that, but mostly they're just distributors.
Well, I mean, yeah, because they basically what they do, like I said, they contract farm to chicken farmers. So basically, what they do, they go in, they say, all right, well, this is the contract. We're going to pay you this amount of money for this amount of yield and how many pounds of chicken or whatever. We'll start you off with 3 houses, 2,000 chickens each house or whatever. And so what they do is they'll again give you either grade A, grade B, or grade C chicklets, and if you get a higher yield out of the chickens, you get grade A next year. Or if you have a low yield, you get grade B, and then you have to dig yourself out of the hole. And then if you start making good money... So,
wait. What is the difference between the grades? How can they tell? Smaller?
Like healthy, more healthy, Like,
Jesus, listen to what you're saying. Like, yeah, we're going to get grade C chickens.
Yeah.
What the fuck are they pumping these chickens with to make them live through that process?
I mean, they fill them up with antibiotics and steroids, so that way the C-grade chickens have a bigger yield, so they can get back up to B, and then back up to A.
Shit!
So they're all over it.
Do you know what kind of chicken Chick-fil-A uses? They use Tyson, I think.
I'm sure it's Tyson. It's one of them.
Okay. Well, they make a perfect chicken sandwich.
Well, anyways, so whenever a farmer starts getting grade A and starts actually like making good money,
Yeah.
the farmer or the basically, excuse me, like say Tyson has a contract farm with them, so Tyson will come in and say, all right, well, there's a new regulation with Tyson Foods, and we need you to update your hen houses with these new industrial grade fans to keep circulation at a certain blah 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 blah. And they're like, and we'll loan it to you for $20,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
So then they're back down to making very little money because they're paying back Tyson for the stupid fans and rules and shit that they changed. So they're in an endless cycle of being like just at the poverty line.
Wow.
They never ever make decent money. Like they're constantly in. It's like that. What is it? Revolving credit.
Yeah.
Kind of like a credit card. Yeah, you're in a constant, but you're forced to buy certain things to stay up with regulations. So chicken farmers, man, it goes out. Hats go off to you, man, because I know I really truly enjoy my chicken, and I know you guys go through hell and back to give us chicken.
Yeah, you had some chickens.
I had some chicken just a couple minutes ago. Actually, I had Tyson chicken.
No, I'm saying you actually raised chickens.
Yeah, we raised some chickens, and they're not as big and fat as the ones you see like from Tyson Farms because there's no steroids in them.
Yeah, see that's the way to do it, man.
They're
Get
happy chickens too.
several chickens. I bet you their eggs are just like super dark with all the bugs they be eating out there.
Oh yeah, we let them out and they can run around and stuff, and like we leave them out. Like basically, if it's a really nice day, we'll leave them outside, and they'll eat bugs and stuff. And I remember some of the eggs you get are just enormous.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them.
They're like twice the size of a like grade A jumbo large egg at a store. So and they're much more rich.
It's like an eagle's egg.
Yeah. So, anyways, we are kind of chugging along here. So let's take a quick break, and we'll come back. And like I said, I have a big story about China and their new social credit system.
China.
So, again, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Pull It Back podcast. All right, and welcome back to the Pull It Back podcast. I just wanted to get right into this, man, because this really piqued my interest. Was the social credit system in China? Now, it's basically a national reputation system, and it's being completely ran by the Chinese government. So by 2020, they intend to standardize citizens and businesses to this social credit. So it's basically, this whole thing is they are stopping people from riding transportation. They are stopping people from buying cars. I mean, basically, if you have poor social credit, you can't buy a car, can't ride trains, can't get a loan. Like you get poor. Yeah. You even get like worse jobs that nobody wants to take.
So, like that guy we saw on Twitter earlier that got blown up out of that tank?
Basically, yeah. I mean, like, if you have a basically, if you're an asshole, you get terrible jobs, you get no car, you basically have to walk everywhere, or you ride the crappy train. Like, you don't get to go on the high-speed train.
Yeah. So, like, we're assholes, so we would have some really shitty... We'd be like shit shovelers or something.
Basically, yeah. Yeah.
Smog breathers. They'd set all of the shitheads up on top of the buildings and just take deep breaths and blow it back into a filter.
Yeah. So this originally started it was first implemented in 2001 and 2002 in very select markets. They considered it a grid style social management.
So how do they track like your points?
Basically, like if you, I know they have it like, you know how like if we don't make payments on our cars, it like hurts our credit score.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar to that. If you get caught, like if you have like like you been to jail, you have charges on you like speeding tickets or stuff like that, your social credit goes down. If you miss payments on your rent, your social credit goes down. If you're caught because Chinese government, they watch everything you do on the internet.
Right.
It is extremely surveilled. So if you get caught importing porn, you get a much lower social credit. I mean, there's a bunch of factors into it. Like if you get in trouble, basically, your social credit's going down. It's not just on your payment history.
That is insane.
They're literally putting numbers on people.
Hold on. Let me ponder this for a second.
Yeah, this is it's crazy.
So essentially they're controlling every aspect of your life, even whether you're a shithead or not.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to play the devil's advocate on the side of somebody that is not experienced freedom like in the US.
Yeah.
So I'm living in China. I kind of agree with the ideology of the social credit. I'm going to say, well, I think that's good because it keeps the real turds who want to be stupid, commit crimes and just interfere with other people's lives and be disruptive to society.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They should be swept under a rug.
That's what you would think if you were in China.
Yes. Yeah, this is what I'm thinking if I'm on, in favor of this.
Yeah.
I've never experienced real freedom and independence.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm going to think that. Be like, yeah, that's good for those criminal pieces of shit.
Well, the messed up thing is that even if you didn't like it, the government would tell you to just get over it because it's a communist country. So they tell you whatever you need to, basically you are at the will of the government. And if you came out and publicly said that you didn't like this whole credit system, they would dock your social credit system.
Right, exactly.
Or credit score.
That's kind of where I was getting to with playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Is bringing it back around to somebody who is, born in the USA and all that stuff and has the good stuff that we have.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable that they're doing that. One of my buddies actually brought up a really interesting point. He said, this reminds me of the 80s movie Gattaca.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I'm sorry, in the late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And it had Ethan Hawke and a couple other actors. And it was basically about how everything was based on your social standing.
Yeah.
If you did anything wrong, your social credit dropped. It was very simple. So
maybe
China,
they got the idea from it.
Maybe they did, because the way he was explaining it, I was like, holy shit, that sounds a lot like what Mike has been talking about.
Because this started in 2001 and 2002 as select markets. So basically shortly after that movie came out, they implemented it, and they tried it out in small rural towns in China.
So maybe they did get it directly from that movie. They're like,
maybe.
Fine idea there.
Well, the part of it is that, it's not just affecting the citizens, it's affecting businesses too. So businesses also, kind of like how we have the BBB, Better Business Bureau. Mm-hmm. It's similar to that, but it's a little more, more invasive, I guess you'd say. So basically they have these, the Chinese government actually was talking about working with these private companies to do this whole social credit system for the citizens. But then, of course, China was like, you know what? I think the government needs to step in on this instead of using this third-party people. Because, of course, the government is all controlling.
So they just want the money.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily just the money. They just want to be able to... essentially, it'd be slavery. Because you have people with poor credit scores, or poor social credit scores, and then you give them shitty jobs with very, very little pay, and then you justify why you're paying them so little.
Well, you know what? This may be the start of something that's actually good, because what's going to happen is there's going to be some sort of uprising and revolution, and they're going to overthrow the government.
I don't think that'll happen in China.
I think it will, because
they have it beaten out of them from a very young age.
It doesn't matter. It's still
just
happens.
been that way forever.
It still happens in those countries that are so repressed. It's happened a lot. And if people, people are a little more open-minded these days because of the internet. So if some people start some sort of crazy independence movement, I don't know, maybe they'll overthrow the government.
I don't see that happening. The government is way too powerful.
Or the army the Chinese military will step in and wipe these people off the earth.
See, that would happen here in America if it wasn't.
No, that would never happen in America.
It kind of is.
See,
we have credit scores, and it dictates. Yeah. I mean, because they even have we have 3 major credit companies: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion.
Yes.
And now, basically, you have to pay more money for cars, but I mean, technically, you can still get a loan, which is the difference. You still have to pay more money if you have low credit scores.
Yes.
You also get less than stellar jobs, because I know a lot of jobs are requiring credit scores now.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't rent specific places if you have poor credit.
Here's the key difference, though, is that you still have the option to go do that, and if you're not a turd and are delinquent all the time on your payments, your credit does go up. The only way it goes down is if you actually fuck up and don't do what you're supposed to do.
Well, and it takes a long time to dig out of a hole if you have something negative, though.
Oh, yeah. I know all about that. It took me a very long time to get my credit score up.
Yeah.
I had to do a lot of things. But I'm saying you still have the independence to go buy a car. There's places out there that you can still go buy a car. The government's not saying, you're a turd, you can't get
Well, in China, they also have that automotive lottery or whatever it is. So for every 1,000 people, only 3 get to buy cars in China.
Yeah.
And they're randomly selected. If you have a high social credit, you have more of a chance of getting one. Now, I was going to say that whole 3 major credit scores here in America, the Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. Now, in China, they have 137 active credit reports that gather all sorts of data. So it's not just your payment history like they do here. They do your internet browsing history. They do, your mental health records. I mean, every aspect of your life is recorded.
Records?
Everything, absolutely everything is recorded.
So if you have because we were talking about how basically job-related stress is a huge issue, especially in Asian countries. I mean, Japanese coined a term called I think it was the karoshi.
Yeah,
which basically death by work.
Yeah.
So you got to imagine that's happening twofold in China.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to a shitty job because, maybe you got in a little trouble as a kid. So you got a shitty job. Now you have a mental disorder because you have depression. You start drinking, get into, maybe some kind of, I don't know, maybe you have to go to counseling because, the Chinese government says you have to go to counseling. Yeah. Now your social credit goes down even more. So it's like, there's no path to redemption.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard because they want you to basically they want the people that have low social credit scores to go do the undesirable work, so that way the people with high credit scores don't.
Well, and that also
sounds like slavery to me.
Yeah, that's exactly slavery, and it also sounds like the people with higher social standings, the rich, and the successful people, if they don't like say a company comes in, if they don't like that company, they can talk shit and spread rumors and get in good with the government and say, look, I don't like these people. I want them to have low social, and then their social credit will slowly go down, and then they'll be out of business. Yeah. And then they'll just buy them or something.
Yeah, because like I said, this all works for businesses too. So I was going to say by the end of last year, 5.5 million high-speed rail trips and 17.5 million flights had been denied to prospective travelers who were on blacklist.
Jesus.
Yeah, and then like I said, it's generally unknown of what's causing these people to go on these blacklists because, of course, Chinese government is very, invasive as far as privacy goes, but they don't let anybody know about it, which is crazy. They're like the most they're not opaque at all, like what we have. So most of these social credit credits are being posted publicly so everyone can see how low your score is. So they're pursuing public shaming.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so basically if you're in your village, you have a low public credit score, they put this and they post it in your general vicinity, like in your, like say, how they have those gated housing developments?
Yeah.
So if you have those gated developments, you have, some of them have like a little park in the middle where you have like a swimming pool and like a gathering place. Well, they would post your credit scores of everybody that lives there for everybody to see. So if you have a low credit score, you're going to be publicly shamed and possibly even kicked out of the place that you're living in.
Good God.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. Oh, shit. I just pulled up this thing. Of course, it's China.
Yeah.
So there's an Apple factory there, and apparently a 15-year-old boy recently died and is one of 5 unexplained deaths at the Apple factory.
15-year-old boy.
15-year-old boy. Dropped dead.
Being overworked?
Apparently. He was working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So
and not making much money, I guarantee it.
Oh, no. Probably making $5 a day or something, maybe. Yeah. And apparently the China Labor Board, or China Labor Watch, a workers' rights organization, which sounds like an oxymoron to me, performs undercover investigations at Chinese electronics manufacturers. Now, I have to imagine over there at Huawei, they're not doing these inspections. They're only doing it because it's an American company and they want to defend Apple.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm sure Apple knows about this and is probably not doing a whole lot to correct it because it's in China.
Well, they put those nets outside of the windows
so they don't jump to their death.
Yeah, that was a real thing. Y'all can Google it. That's a real thing. It's called Foxconn, Foxconn, and Apple, when they were making this is early in when Apple was getting found out that all this stuff was happening in China, people were jumping out of the windows to their death, and so what Apple did to stop that was they put up nets outside of the windows, so that way if somebody does jump, they just land in a net and then they get taken off to jail. And then they get their social credit lowered because they try to kill themselves.
Yeah, God.
So here's a list of some of these punishments here. So, of course, flight ban, so you can't fly in a plane, not even locally. You get exclusion from private schools, slow internet connection.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, slow internet connection, exclusion from high prestige work, exclusion from hotels, and registration on a public blacklist. So basically, you know how we have sexual predators that have to register?
Yeah.
And they're all over the map, and these little red dots pop up on Google Maps or whatever. And then you have the little stake sign, whatever, put out in your yard. Mm-hmm. Very similar to what happens there. They have to register because they have a low credit score. God, I can't talk today, man.
That sounds like one of those dystopian movies, just like that Gattaca. I'm gonna have to watch that. I have never seen it.
Well, I mean, this is still in the preliminary stages, but I guess the system has been used to ban people and their children from certain schools.
Speaking of schools, I know we're getting pretty deep into the China thing. Are you aware of what's going on here in Kentucky? So let me tell you about this. So basically, my daughter missed a day of school today.
Uh-huh.
She's going to miss a day of school tomorrow, and she missed a day last week because teachers are basically on strike. They 90% of them called in sick.
So they're legitimately on strike.
Yes, 90% of them called in sick.
Oh
so
my
they
God.
don't have enough teachers to teach the classes basically.
Yeah.
So Ella has to stay home.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I mean, imagine the people that don't have childcare arranged.
Yeah, no kidding. So what, do they have to bring all their kids to work or something?
I mean, yeah, think about it. People are going to have to use sick days, holiday day, floating holiday or whatever.
Yeah.
To take off work to watch their kids.
That's just crazy.
So, yeah, it's absolutely insane. And it's basically because the state of Kentucky took away their pension. They did the same thing last year. They missed a couple of days because the teachers called in sick.
Yeah.
So
Basically, if it's a strike, then I guess why? Why are they on strike? What's the problem?
So basically, the state passed some legislation.
Uh-huh.
I don't really understand it because I'm kind of dumb.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, the legislation is a bill to change up the process on how they select the board members of
Yeah.
the school board. And apparently the unions hate it or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It basically makes it impossible for them to get their pensions. Because basically any teacher that's not retired will not get a pension. And
well, that's the thing. I mean, with pensions is ridiculous anyway.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're also not giving them cost of living increases for their pension.
Yeah.
And, 10 years ago, you were saying that banks and other places were giving pension, but now they're giving.
Yeah, this was it was in the 40s and 50s, I think. I mean, I think it went all the way up to the 70s and 80s, but most companies would give you a pension if you worked there for over 20 years or 15 or whatever the contract was. If you worked there for a certain amount of time, when you retired, the company would pay your retirement. The company paid for it, said, "Hey man, thanks for being a great employee for all these years. Here's your retirement. We'll take care of you the rest of your life, whatever."
Yeah,
now it's all 401ks to where they make you pay for it. It goes into, and then you invest your money made from that company back into the company you're investing in, and then hope to God the interest and everything adds up to where you can actually retire. But basically, the company switched it to where they're like, it's on you. And now even 401ks are a treat because they're not widely available as.
Oh, you'd be lucky. You can consider yourself lucky if you get a company that has a 401k with matching and all that stuff.
Most companies don't match at all anymore.
Well,
it's here's a savings account with a decent interest rate.
Yeah, basically. But I mean, luckily my company does have a 401k with dollar for dollar matching.
Mm-hmm.
And now, something that was brought to my interest was my father or my stepdad basically told me that a lot of these companies that offer 401k only invest in their company.
Yeah.
So if you work for an okay company, but they've lost money for the last several years,
mm-hmm.
it's not a good look for your portfolio.
No.
So my 401k through my company is matched dollar for dollar,
mm-hmm.
but my company is technically not publicly traded. So it's diverse. It's spread out over several different. I can't remember all of them. Don't give me a lie to you, but
home or what is it? Property and big companies or whatever.
Yeah, stable, Fortune 500 companies that are stable. Of course, it's nothing like Apple or something like that. But there for a while, I was kind of stupid and thinking about doing either a gold-backed 401k
mm-hmm.
or a Bitcoin IRA or Roth IRA or 401k, something like that.
That's a little wishy-washy on that one.
Yeah. Then I saw all the instability in the market for Bitcoin. I was like, maybe not.
Yeah.
But I digress. So the teachers' pensions are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Governor Matt Bevin, in his infinite wisdom, is like, yeah, hell yeah, let's take this money away, because the Kentucky government has basically squandered away all of the tax money
mm-hmm.
over the last several years, and they're like, I don't know what to do, and it's like the dam's broken, man. You gotta fucking fix this.
Yeah.
And of course, they're thinking of making medical marijuana legal. And
you're thinking of it.
Yeah, Governor Matt Bevin said he would never, ever approve a bill for recreational marijuana.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like,
until you're broke. Things change when you're broke.
You've got to be shitting me. And he said, marijuana will never solve Kentucky's money problems. And he may have a point.
Sure as well help, though.
Yeah, it's not gonna make everything all better by any means, I don't think, because mm-hmm. it's probably too far gone at this point. But it's definitely going to help. It could at least get the teachers their pension back so my child could get a fucking education.
No kidding. That's absolutely ridiculous, man. I mean, it just makes you think about how dumb some of these politicians are and how the hell did they get elected. It's like none of them, not a single politician, no matter how much BS they feed you, it's never about you. It's all about them. It's self-preservation of the political party, self-preservation of the politician themselves. They don't give two shits about you.
Yeah.
The working man.
Yeah, of course. Well,
So-
at least it's not China, where if we had this podcast there, we would get some serious docks to our social credit.
I know it, because we're talking about the government. So,
Yeah.
America. But
American.
this is the another really, really crazy thing, going back to that China social credit thing. So, okay, this is the one that kind of really got me, like, kind of scared, is because, quote, city-level pilot projects for the social credit score system have included rewarding individuals for aiding authorities in enforcing restrictions of religious practices, end quote.
Whoa.
Yeah, so basically, if you see somebody, like, say, you know, they're, I don't, what's China's main religion? I don't know.
Christianity?
No, it's not Christianity. It's something like, I don't know what it is. But anyways, it's just to make it more, you know, easy to understand for American viewers. This is more or less a Christian country. So if basically the United States government had banned Islamic practices like China did, China has banned Islamic practices. If you see somebody reading the Quran or doing some type of religious practices, and you tell the government about it and say, hey, this guy was reading the Quran, which I know is banned, you get a social credit bump, and that other person goes to jail.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Um,
That's Nazism.
yeah, but
That's what the Nazis did.
Basically, they're just one concentration camp away from ethnic cleansing.
Yeah.
But their main religion is Buddhism, Chinese folklore, Taoism, and Confucianism.
Ah.
So, I guess Buddhism is their
Buddhism.
number one.
Okay.
But I have to believe that Buddha himself would never have thought this was a good idea.
No. Well, this is, so, like I said, and this is actually in the article, it says, if somebody is caught fasting during Ramadan or performing other Islamic practices, and somebody is, like, another citizen goes and, again, tells the government, the person practicing it would go to jail, and the other person would just get a social credit bump, and then if he brings in more people, his social credit just keeps going up. So basically, you're just a tattletale.
Yeah.
You're just tattling on people. So like I said, I mean, that's disgusting, knowing that not only is the government watching your every move, but so is every other citizen, because they want social credit bumps.
It's disgusting.
It's like everybody is watching you. And if they're like, hey, that dude's wearing a crucifix, I gotta tell.
It's disgusting.
It is disgusting, man. But the rewards for having the high credit score include easier access to loans and jobs and priority during bureaucratic paperwork. So basically, like, you know, if, say, you go to get a driver's license registered, you get to go forward in the line. You get to cut if you have a higher credit score. Likewise, the immediate negative consequences for low credit score are being associated to someone with a low score. So if you are in association with someone with a low credit score, you could also get a bump lower in your credit score. So, like, don't hang out with losers.
Holy shit.
Yeah, like this. And like I said, this is all real, man. So, I mean, here in the USA, we have the credit score system that it essentially can deny you transportation, access to public schools, higher rates on loans, less than stellar jobs. You know, like I said, now that some of them collect credit scores, and even lower chances to be able to have rent. But this is a little extreme, and it's kind of sad. But I don't want to see America slowly but surely move their way into this. Which, I mean, the culture that we have, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't think.
We have a very rebellious spirit.
Yeah, well, I think nowadays more than ever, I think if something like that did come along, that shit would be nipped in the bud.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I guess that the whole point of this thing, this whole social credit system, is to essentially provide an answer to the problem with the lack of trust from the Chinese market.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because the Chinese market, they want to grow and they want to be the number one superpower. But the biggest thing holding them back is like, oh, we don't trust them because, you know, time and time again, they've raised the rates on their currency. Like they've artificially inflated their currency to make it seem like it was worth more. And then that made the Chinese dollar collapse. And so now they're, you know, on their way back up. So they're just trying to build trust so that way that doesn't happen again. And they're trying to create social stability, and this is quoted, by creating a culture of sincerity.
A culture of sincerity, huh?
Yes. So
how sincere is it for somebody who has a mental disability?
Well, you get a low credit score, and you can't ride the train or anything.
Oh, dude, that just is disgusting.
No, that's a wild story, man. When I came across that, I couldn't believe it because I mean, like I said, just the headline: China bans millions of people with poor social credit from transportation, and
you know, I bet you even Soviet Russians would be like, that's a bit harsh.
Well, I bet you Vladimir Putin's like, you know what? That's not a bad idea.
That's not a bad idea.
Come with me while I jump on my bear and ride off into the sunset. Yeah, man, that was one of the crazy stories I saw. So I had to talk about that one, man. It's insane, man.
Well, my buddy, who is acting as my in-house Google
tier.
He's my Google master.
Mm-hmm.
He sent me a teacher's pension .org link.
Yeah.
And they basically grade states on how they deliver teachers' retirements. Kentucky got an F.
Kentucky got an F.
Yeah, go figure. So, based on our estimates...
So it's hard to be a teacher in Kentucky is what you're saying.
Only 67% of Kentucky teachers will qualify for employer-provided retirement benefits.
Oh, my God.
Teachers who leave the plan before then must forfeit contributions their school or state made on their behalf.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, pretty disgusting.
That's just crazy. Because like I said, I mean, if you're not getting paid to do the job, why would you do the job?
And that's the point. That's the point that the article was making, is basically it really puts a clog in the artery, so to say, to
no kidding.
recruit new teachers and retain them.
Yeah.
And, because, I mean, who wants to work for a shitty job where you gotta believe that teaching is one of the most difficult jobs there is to do?
Yeah.
Can you imagine the stress level? I have one, and I want to pull the rest of my hair out. I mean,
it's a tough job, man. Especially like if you're doing. Can you imagine being a high school teacher, where kids think they're grown-ups and they're just like, we can do whatever we want because we're 18 and we're 16 and I have Snapchat or whatever the kids do nowadays.
Yeah, and then the kids are like, you can't touch me; it's illegal. What
meanwhile, my dad's a lawyer.
He owns a car dealership. Mm-hmm. He's just pointing his finger at this 7-foot tall principal.
Yeah.
Remember our principal?
Yeah.
Oh, what was his name? Mr. Rainwater?
Yeah.
And, kids would talk shit to him, but then later on you'd see him in the gym bench pressing 500 fucking pounds.
Yeah, you were just like, ooh, maybe not. Maybe not talk to that guy.
Yeah, but that's how kids are, Anyway, going back to that, it's a stressful, extremely stressful job.
Yeah.
But, the teachers, you got to be a special person to do it, because most of them are doing it because it's not a high-paying job. The benefits aren't obviously that great. Most of them are doing it for the benefit of the future generations. I have to believe that. And when I see my daughter not going to school, which I pay for in taxes, and maybe she's not getting the most quality of education now because a new teacher just is there for a 9 to 5.
Yeah. So basically, it's like part-time teachers.
Yeah.
Substitute teachers, which historically have been horrible.
Well, I mean, how can you justify that as a
Well,
state?
how can you basically groom and cater to the next generation without being able to teach them? Basically, what they're doing is that they're teaching these kids that the government doesn't care.
Exactly.
That's why there's so much distrust in the government, man.
It's like, I hate to sound like some sort of conspiracy theorist, but it's almost like this revolving door of just complete social breakdown.
Yeah.
That's like the government does one thing, they screw it up, they pass it down to the citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
The citizenship goes into deeper turmoil. They do something even more stupid, goes back on the citizenship and the citizenry, and then just a revolving door.
Yeah, they just beat you down to. They beat you
like,
down to where you're just like, all right, I give up, and then you just take whatever job you can take.
Yeah, they wring their hands nefarious. It's like a dog shit on this revolving door, and it's just making a streak in a circle all the way around.
Yeah.
It's.
I mean, it's like I said, man. That's how you grow up to have distrust in the government, man. When you just see the government just completely destroy people and destroy their livelihoods and make these stupid laws that are like completely off the wagon when it comes to common sense for normal people, and completely like just destroy. Like I said, they have the pensions when they're getting rid of people's pensions, and then they switch it to 401k, and then now they have the 401k are going away as well, even for government jobs.
Yeah. So it's like you said, it's a wonder why our generation distrusts the government.
Yeah.
And I think really soon the government's going to have to realize their follies, because, back before the internet, they could do whatever the fuck they wanted.
Yeah.
And nobody was the wiser. They were just like, okay. But now there's the internet. Everybody's connected. There's ways to talk about this shit.
So I guess I can get my wiener sucked in the Oval Office and nobody will know about it.
False.
Yeah, they found out. Because she hung on to that dress, Bill. She hung on to that dress. She saved it for a special occasion.
Define what the word is.
It's a lawyer move right there.
Anyway, he, God bless, got me thinking about old Bill. But, yeah, it's like the government's going to have to understand that we're not stupid, and they're not pulling the wool over our eyes anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, it's time to okay, maybe we should cut the shit a little bit.
Well, I think they're more or less like they're trying to shift. Like we're in the process of them shifting tactics on how to pull the wool over our eyes.
Yeah, it's getting more shifty and crafty, and
yeah, like they're having to actually really think about it.
But basically, they're going to have to pull some shit like social credit stuff.
I mean, just about.
Just shit on us.
Well, they have like the Facebook thing where the government, like, they took Facebook to court and they were like, oh, do you believe this? Blah, blah, blah. Trying to make Facebook to be the bad guy. But in reality, the government, and this is true, the government works very closely with Facebook to gather data on people. And Google. So even if you're like, I'm deleting my Facebook so the government can't track me, good luck going away from Google.
Mm-hmm. My buddy, Rusty, who's the resident Google master, he showed me something on my phone that I didn't know about. The turn alerts off for active advertising.
Yeah.
I was like, I had no idea this was on my phone, because I was like, I would talk about like the new hybrid Volvo that looks great, by the way.
Yes.
And I would talk to Rusty and say, have you seen the new hybrid electric Volvo? He'd say, no, I have not.
2 days later.
2 days later, here comes advertisements for the Volvo.
Yeah.
I'm like,
you know what's really crazy about that? And this just happened 2 days ago. I have a pair of New Balance shoes I use for work. Really comfortable memory foam, by the way.
Oh, that's what it was. Seriously, specifically, an occasion.
Yeah.
You just reminded me, 'cause I'm talking about New Balance.
Mm-hmm.
I really like their Minimus runner, or like their trainer.
Yeah.
It's like, it looks great. It's got a real small sole. They look cool. I wanted to buy a pair, and I was talking to him about it. And the next day, I was in my Google feed, and boop, there it is.
Yep.
I was like,
that's all it takes, man.
Look,
because
man,
like I
these
said,
are the shits I was talking about.
I never ever searched shoes. I don't think ever in my life have I ever searched for shoes online. Well, maybe once, but this was like I said, I have these New Balances, and they have a hole, like starting to grow a little hole where the pinky toe is, because it's like really thin fabric. So
Yeah.
so I was like, wow, maybe I need to get some new shoes here pretty soon. And I whispered that to myself, and then like I said, a day or two later, here's ads for buying shoes. New Balance shoes.
That's insane.
I was like, what the hell? I didn't even say New Balance. I think I mentioned it on the podcast a couple episodes ago, but that's about it. So, I mean, you can't tell me that they're not listening to you, because that's true. Also, since you brought that up with the iPhone, there's also another hidden setting. I'd have to look it up where it is, but it's basically like where the iPhone tracks how often you go places. So basically, like it's like, say you're in this city, and it keeps track of all that stuff, and you can go find it, and it basically takes a memory of how frequently you go to these certain places, and then advertises towards that.
That's what I was talking about. I knew to turn off the location services so it couldn't track you, but I didn't
deeper into that.
I didn't know it kept track of how many times you visit this place, and basically how long you were there, how long it took you to get there from wherever you was coming from.
Yep.
And I was like, holy crap, I had no idea that this was going on. Luckily, I had it turned off because he was showing me his different visits. And I was like, dude.
Yeah, it tracks everything.
What is the purpose of this?
Advertising.
That's...
and to keep track on you.
That is so disturbing.
Yeah, well, because like I said, that's really the difference between China and us. That China, it's in your face. They're tracking you. Everybody knows it, and you also have a credit score to reflect on it. Here in the United States,
they're just more subtle about it.
They're more subtle about it, and it's all hidden. And this is perfect proof of that. If you have an iPhone and you're listening to this, go into your iPhone setting, go into privacy, and then at the top, click on Location Services. Scroll all the way to the bottom, past all your apps, and it'll say System Services. You click on that, and then scroll down to where it says Significant Locations. It'll ask you to unlock it. If that's on, which it's on by default, it'll give you a list of everywhere that you've been and how frequently you visited it. And you can turn that off. They say, it says that they're...
it's encrypted, so they can't
encrypted,
read it.
and even Apple can't read it, but that's BS.
Yeah.
Because then how can I read it?
Well, because it's on your phone.
Whatever.
But logic ass. But no, I have to believe that, if it's on the phone, probably a way for them to get in the back door and
absolutely
do a little creeping.
Yeah.
So it's very suspect to me. So for those of you out there listening, all 12 of you, just go check it out. See what you think, and try to wrap your mind around why it's necessary
and how it's. I mean, because people are just like, you're just a conspiracy theorist. Like, no, the proof is everywhere.
It's right there on your phone.
Yeah, they are tracking you, and you can't just be like, I'm going to go buy a dumb phone so that way they can't track me anymore. Yeah, but you still have smart TVs, you have smart toasters, you have smart everything, and they all have like. They had that one where it was the Samsung TV scandal. I think this was in 2000, maybe 14 or 15, when the smart TV thing started really blowing up. Well, smart TVs became, more readily available and cheaper for more people to buy. Well, you'd buy a Samsung TV, and even if it didn't have that special built-in camera and, microphone and stuff like that so you can talk to the TV, they still were putting microphones in these TVs and listening to people's conversation. So that way they would pick up keywords and try to advertise to you.
Good God.
Like you'd say cupcakes, and they'd try to advertise local cupcake shops or whatever. Or go to Walmart, buy some cupcakes. Seriously, and nobody knew this was happening, and they got sued.
As they should. See, that's just another one of those, Korea is a little better than China because they're actually kind of an independent country.
Yeah.
They actually have independence.
Well, they have real democracy-ish.
Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's frightening, but I mean, like, it's just the way it's just, I mean, I hate to say it because it shouldn't be this way, but you're like, that's just the way the world is. And it's like how, like, people in the future, they're not going to know what privacy is. You know what I mean?
No,
It's
gonna be an
opening. I mean,
episode-
it's opened up the floodgates for these people to come on here and go on YouTube and just be like, yeah, check out this. I'm like super into eating bricks or whatever. You know, the people that are addicted to eating strange things?
pica.
Oh, I don't know what it is.
That's the disease. It's called pica.
Where you eat strange things?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw one where the guy was like eating strange bricks. There was a person that was eating mattresses.
Yeah, there was one girl that was eating deodorant.
Yeah, eating deodorant, toilet paper.
Yeah.
You know, it's just strange, man. Oh, and actually, speaking of addiction, there was an article I came across where they have, you know what ketamine is?
Ketamine.
Ketamine, the drug.
I've heard about it.
So basically, it's the street name is Special K,
Yeah.
and it's like almost like a tranquilizer ish. So it gets you high, and so the FDA classified this as a Schedule 3 drug, which has mild addictive properties, and it could cause long-term like mental effects and physical effects. So that's why they classified it as Schedule 3, and they recently made a new antidepressant nasal spray derived from ketamine.
Where did you see this?
This was on the New York Times. It's actually all over the internet now. But it's basically, they illegalized ketamine. So where people that were buying ketamine, you know, illegally and selling it, then the government was like, well, we're going to legalize it, just like they did with weed and everything else. They figured out a way to basically sell it, and they're like, all right, well, the pharmaceutical companies can now use it. So pharmaceutical companies flip it around so that way they can sell it. So that way the middleman isn't making the money. It's the pharmaceutical companies and big government.
Well, that's a little bit better than having it on the streets and having violent gangs distribute the shit. But
pharmaceuticals are the same way.
they're basically the same thing.
They're just more deep into it.
Well, and that's the problem I have with like the FDA
Mhm.
because they're all up in bed with the big pharma companies,
Absolutely.
and basically they get lobbied to, and they'll say, "Hey, we're making this new drug. You guys are going to benefit a lot from it.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad for you,
Mhm.
but go ahead and pass that." But the FDA is like, "No, we can't have medicines with weed in it."
Well, the thing is with this ketamine thing is that it's brand spanking new. They don't know what the long-term effects of it are.
See, and that's the most ridiculous
But they've
thing.
approved it.
That's the most ridiculous thing is because they're not going to study the health effects of this. I think it was some sort of animal tranquilizer at one point, right?
Yeah. It was a horse
And-
tranquilizer.
Yeah, and now they're saying, nah, it's cool. But marijuana,
Since we're making money off of it, it's cool.
yeah, but marijuana, a fairly innocuous drug, maybe not the best for some, but better for others.
Yeah.
So they have that as a Schedule 1 drug, which they say has no medical benefit, and you get the biggest punishment for having it.
Yeah, because Schedule 1 means that if you look up the classifications on the FDA website, it shows Schedule 1 is extremely addictive,
Yeah,
and even small doses can cause mental and physical alterations and harm. Psychosis, basically, yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
do you really think weed is going to... Because from the way they talk about it on the FDA thing as being Schedule 1, because it's up there with heroin,
Yeah.
it's up there
Well,
with everything. Acid.
the FDA says, well, that's a gateway drug,
Yeah.
and it's that's the reason they say it. It's a gateway drug. This, that, and the other. They can't.
Yeah.
There's no proven long-term effects of marijuana use
Yeah.
in medicine, so there's nothing. They say that the scientific evidence is in there, but they won't let them study it because it's illegal. So it's like this circle of this vicious cycle of them not allowing stuff to be done
hmm
and saying, well, it's bad for you.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's no
They
worse
want it.
than
The FDA wants it to be bad for you until they can figure out how to sell it.
Well, it's coming pretty soon.
Well,
The
I
next
know it.
the next president is 100%. You know what? Maybe back it up. 80% is going to be of their campaign is going to have some semblance of
Marijuana.
decriminalization or full legalization for
Yeah.
marijuana.
Well, so this isn't, I mean, this ketamine thing isn't the first time the government's done this because they, like I said, they illegalize drugs and they make it sound terrible for you until they can figure out how to make it themselves and sell it to you through the pharmaceutical companies because that's what Adderall is. It's speed. They have, what is it, pseudoephedrine, which can be made into meth. Like I said, the ketamine thing. So they have ketamine and they've turned it into an antidepressant. So like I said, I mean, it happens all the time. This isn't the first time.
No.
They did the same thing with Vicodin, opioids. It's heroin. And what is it, morphine?
Yeah, it's just a water. They just put a couple of drops of water in heroin.
They called, it's heroin. They're just like, it's cleaner though. It's more sterile. So like, okay. So it's cleaner, but it's still not any more safe for you. Sure, I won't get AIDS from sharing needles, but...
Well, the funniest part is those drugs are highly addictive.
Extremely.
Because it gives you this more, more detached feeling. But they say marijuana is a gateway drug, but that's probably because it's less expensive.
Yeah.
And people are going to be like, hey, you want to go try some heroin today? Most people are going to be like, maybe not so much.
That sounds a little rough.
Or they're just going to say, you know what? Fuck yeah, I hate my job. Let's try some heroin.
But the people that do that, I mean, I don't think... If you're a loser, you're a loser. But smoking weed is not going to turn you into a loser. You're already a loser. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah. But that's been the stigma around it.
Well,
Anyway.
I'm not saying if you smoke weed, you're a loser. I'm just saying if you're a loser that smokes weed, you're a loser. But you can still be a normal person, because like I said, there's normal people that drink.
Well, there's normal people that are complete alcoholics.
Yeah, alcoholics and cokeheads and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, the minute they get off work, they're going and buying a case of beer, slamming the whole thing, and waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go do it all again.
Yeah. So like I said, it just takes those certain people. But like I was saying about this ketamine thing, fast-acting depression drug. So that's the thing. Instead of it being orally, it's nasal spray, and it's supposed to be almost instantaneous to stop depression. Which I think, I think it's ridiculous, man. Like I said, it's right in front of your eye. Open your eyes, wake up, sheeple. So, do you have any other topics, man?
Well, I did have another China topic.
Okay, go ahead.
So, of course, it's China. Apparently, they've been They've been experimenting on mice, and they
turning them gay.
Yeah, just like the frogs. But no, they're giving them infrared vision or near infrared vision.
Don't snakes have that?
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, that's how snakes hunt.
Yeah, so the snake mice.
That's how pit vipers hunt, is with the infrared.
Yeah.
And they basically injected these particles that act like little antennae that take in the infrared light. So they can actually do tests that shows that the mice can process these patterns and everything. And apparently, it lasted for several weeks that they could see in the dark.
Oh my god!
And they were completely unharmed after the test was over, after it wore off.
So it was only temporary.
So it was temporary, but it lasted for several weeks.
Oh, weeks!
Just weeks. Yes.
Oh my god!
Yes, that's what's impressive. Is it wore off? But they say it could be viable in humans in the very near future.
Dude, you know what? I mean, I'm going to say it again. That sounds like Nazism.
At its best.
Didn't Nazis do the exact same thing? They had a social credit system, essentially.
I don't don't know about that. We should look it up, but I can.
They
The
did
Nazis were,
experiments.
yeah, they were doing all sorts of genetic engineering and seeing if, humans could be injected with certain stuff to make them super soldier. Like, have you ever seen that movie Overlord?
Uh-uh.
Oh, dude, that's a great movie. You should watch it.
Is it directed by Steven Spielberg?
No, God, I can't
I'm not
remember.
interested then.
Dude, you got to check it out.
All right.
It's like Wolfenstein.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like a movie version of Wolfenstein, but it's intense, and it's like makes you wonder if the Nazis were actually doing stuff similar to that, like, because I think there's actually a record of them trying out like several super soldier programs.
Yeah.
So they were trying to make Captain Germany.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
And
that was the whole thing. They just wanted to be in control of everything.
yeah, they wanted to make the superior race.
Yeah.
But of course, the USA can't get on board and make either Wolverine or Spider-Man powers, which I personally think is bullshit.
With our military budget, we should be able to have that by now.
I've wanted real legit web slingers and to be able to crawl on walls since I was 9. Remember that cow and chicken guy, the red guy?
Yeah.
Ever since I was 9. He'd always like the Rear Admiral and Seymour
Cow
Butts.
and chicken. That throws it back. So was that all about the infrared thing?
Yeah, man, I just came across that and I was like, because you were, kind of getting me hyped up for the whole social credit thing with China. And I saw this article and I was like, of course.
It's not, China's always got it's horrible stuff. I'm glad it's happening over there, but it's interesting. It piques my interest with a Q.
Yeah.
Peak.
I'm not peak.
Did you know that Alex Trebek just got Alex Trebek, the longtime host of Jeopardy?
Yeah, man.
He came out and announced that he has been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
I know. My buddy Rusty told me that. See, he's Google master, but he was telling me, that he's basically done because once you get diagnosed with pancreatic
Stage 4,
cancer,
man. Yeah, you're done.
Is that right? At any stage, it's basically done for.
Yeah. It's sad, man. It's sad to see him go like that, but I mean, I hope he recovers. He said he's going to fight it, and I wish him the best of luck.
Yeah.
Also, like I said, did you hear about the tornado that hit Alabama?
Yeah, several people died.
Yeah, 23 people died. They're still searching for missing people. The victims range from 6-year-old boy to an 89-year-old man.
Yeah.
It says many were sucked out of their homes and suffered extensive blunt force trauma.
Sucked out of their homes?
Sucked out of their homes.
Good God.
4 people were completely unrecognizable.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. This was heartbreaking. One man found his father dead in the rubble of one of the houses.
Mm.
And then one family lost 7 people. 7 family members.
Oh.
From one. It was crazy. So I read that Auburn football, college football team was helping deliver supplies and stuff to the people affected. It's actually pretty haunting reality because I live in Tornado Alley. We've been close to a few of them, but it's never actually happened. And if you can just imagine it happening in your community, it's heartbreaking.
Wow.
So, and I know there's a lot of talk about what I'm about to say. It doesn't matter, but it's all I can do from so far away, and to grieve with the people of Alabama. Terrible destruction from this tornado, and our thoughts and prayers go out to y'all, for real. So if you're listening to this, I know we only have a couple listeners, but please donate blood at your local food bank, or not food bank, blood bank, and help donate some money to the Red Cross for disaster relief. I know these people really need it. So do you have anything else, man?
No, I'm actually watching this thing on Purdue Pharma right now.
Oh, nice.
And one of their representatives came on and saying it was a long-acting, OxyContin is a long-acting drug with low chance of addiction.
OxyContin.
OxyContin. You know, the one that was having the huge opioid
So
issue
they
with?
came out and they said that there's no way to get addicted from it.
If that's what I'm seeing, right?
Yeah, I believe that because I think I did hear something about where they were pushing.
Yeah, it's a long-acting treatment. It might be less prone to addiction and abuse than traditional drugs.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. They try. I mean, this is a huge marketing campaign, so that way they would think that people were, so that way that they could just toss it out to everybody. Everybody would be addicted to it, and they'd have to keep buying it.
Whew.
It's all lies, man. So we'll have to cover this one on the next podcast, man, with more pharmaceutical jabbery.
Yeah, I need to get my buddy on. Because he was going to school to be a pharmacist.
So he knows all about big pharma and the evils that they bring along.
Definitely cue us in on some different medications.
For sure.
It'll be interesting.
So again, if you could go to Red Cross and donate for the tragedy in Alabama. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Pull It Back podcast, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Thank you, guys.